Do, 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 do. Welcome to the Red Bean Podcast, the New Orleans edition. This is your host, Mr. Toad.
And I'm Dr. Frog.
We're going to be talking about this case that just drove me out of my mind.
It was in Delaware, I believe.
Yep. And essentially what happened was Elon Musk, regardless if you love him or hate him, he was going to get a paid settlement from his corporation that he runs, a company called Tesla. If some people are aware of it, they build electric cars. I'm sure a lot of people have seen the vehicles roll down the street.
They have a lot of good battery technology IP as well.
Yeah. And they also have solar technology as well. They actually have incorporated tiles of a roof of a house. It looks like tiles, but they're actually solar panels. Very clever.
Oh, so they have their own rooftop solar program, it looks like. Okay.
So here you have this particular scenario where Delaware is kind of like the great offshore, onshore kind of place. So if you're in the United States, if you're listening to us, or you're here in New Orleans, Delaware is a place where a lot of corporations like to incorporate themselves. They like to make that their headquarters.
Yeah, and I thought originally it was probably something like maybe you pay the state secretary office a low amount to become incorporated. Maybe they're tax favorable. I'm not sure why, but
the big thing about when I was doing some research, I did find that Delaware, the courts are very favorable to corporations, but not in this particular case.
It looked like Elon Musk was a bit of a cash cow and was even considering leaving Delaware because of how unfair.
The judge denied Elon Musk his $56 billion pay package. Here's the issue that I have. The judge's name is Kathleen St. Jude McCormick. And I think we were kind of making a joke in the background saying, is she a part of the McCormick spice?
Yeah, well, she certainly makes some spicy rulings on the Delaware court.
When I heard that, I just shook my head. And the reason I shook my head, I was like, you do realize if you say no to Elon Musk, and already we saw it was one of the Twitter polls that came up after this case, Elon Musk is saying yes to leave Delaware to go to Texas.
Yes, we move to Texas. It might be more favorable tax-wise.
Yep.
They might allow things like him collecting. And she called the package that he received unfathomable.
Yep.
At 55 or 56 billion. The thing is,
excessive.
Tesla making over 112 billion is pretty unfathomable as well.
Yep. Total assets for the quarter ending on June 30, 2024.
The quarter ending
were $112 billion.
Wait. This is a 24%, 24.5% increase year over year. But here's the thing. That's the quarter ending.
Yep.
So does that mean that's just the quarterly 112 and they're going to make over 400 billion on the year?
Yep.
So this package is really 12.5% or so. Or
it's very small. It's very
might be
small.
10% of the total company gross.
And one thing I was telling you
gross
is that
profit versus
Elon Musk has earned this money. And I know some people say, oh, you can't earn.
Well, I saw a documentary of him sleeping on a factory floor. And, he's invested so much. At one point, he almost went bankrupt.
He went bankrupt, yep. And he had to stay at a friend's home for a short time.
Didn't he also, and I'm sure it has nothing to do with him going bankrupt, didn't he give a couple $1 million to Amber Heard in her trial? He helped support some of her legal fees.
I think, if I remember correctly, she called Elon Musk Spaceman.
Well, yeah.
That was her pet name for him.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, Spaceman.
If he still goes by it.
I don't know.
Better than Rocket Man.
Better than Rocket Man, yeah. Yeah, we only know one Rocket Man.
Well, there's William Shatner.
I'm looking at North Korea.
Well, yeah. Have you ever seen William Shatner's rendition of Rocket Man?
Mm-mm.
At the Grammys, he had a little...
Oh, geez.
A little bit of something and sang Rocket Man.
Oh, geez.
It's a pretty funny video. Might be its own review, but
it might be its own review. But what angers me so much about this ruling is that if she says no, then Elon Musk leaves and takes his money with him.
To Texas.
This is going to harm Delaware.
You know, if they do it bigger in Texas, they're not going to see 55 billion as unfathomable.
See, here's the issue that I have. Not only is the money leaving, this is going to affect future business prospects in Delaware. I feel like when I see something like this, I feel like when it gets to a certain dollar amount, when it gets to a certain point where a judge, and this is this lady, who, I'm not sure if she's on a power trip or maybe she didn't look at this in a logical sense, that if you do something like this, this ruling is going to impact millions of people in Delaware.
Certainly in Delaware. Well, and according to the National Association of State Budget Officers, Delaware's spending in 2023 was about $15.5 billion.
That's what I'm saying.
And so to have someone leaving whose company is potentially making over $400 billion.
Yeah. I mean, it's just stupid. It's crazy. And it's crazy because it's like
they're throwing everything in the kitchen sink at it.
Yeah. I almost wish someone would pull the judge aside and say, Your Honor, if you don't give him this money and he decides to leave, we could have thousands of potential jobs just vanish in out of thin air.
And Kathleen McCormick, this judge, she says it's unfathomable, but that's not an argument.
No.
That's a feeling.
That's
right?
a feeling, exactly.
She's saying this is unbelievable. Well, as a judge, you're supposed to believe and understand these sorts of things if you're ruling on them. The fact that someone just says this is outrageous isn't an argument.
No, and the other issue,
who knows? He could use that $55 billion in other investments in other ways to help the economy.
He could be building a new rocket, and he's going to have to hire another 1,000 engineers. And now we have this money being held up.
Or who knows how many billion he invested initially.
That's true.
This is his payout.
So and this is his payout. And then
so he can go develop it further. Yeah.
Or he can finally finish paying off whatever he owes for Twitter so that he can finally say fully ownership instead of, having debt on it.
Or he can be a space boy and spend it all on Twitch Primes for Amber Heard's new, new trial.
Well, the one thing I would say again is that this lady here, this judge,
yeah, sure.
I think she made a terrible call, and I really think this should be something that people in the future should look at, saying if a judge is going to make a ruling that can impact over 1 million people financially, I think at a certain point there should be someone from the government or some type of checks and balances where someone comes in and says, Your Honor, you cannot make this judgment. You cannot make a ruling on this judgment. This is going to the ballot box.
Well, it's above and beyond. I guess the thing is, it's an unprincipled foiling of Elon Musk's plans. That's the thing that annoys me. There doesn't seem to be a reason besides, well, gosh, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly. But
that was my goofy interpretation.
Yeah,
well,
because...
Gosh.
But here's my like I said, my concern in the future is that when people make stupid or irrational decisions like this,
sure,
this is going to not only impact the people of Delaware, this is going to make maybe Delaware in itself a poorer state because of this decision. Yeah. This is also going to impact how future businesses look at Delaware.
Well, I believe a year or two ago, there was a kind of exodus of corporations in California moving to Texas.
A lot of people were leaving Texas because of what was going on.
So maybe now people will,
There might be an exodus coming out of Delaware.
Yeah.
If this becomes like a regular thing where you have a very wealthy and powerful person spends years and years building an incredible company, makes it very profitable, and is trying to get a big cash out saying, hey, I slept on the floor.
Sure.
I worked on actually, there's pictures of Elon Musk working on the floors, working on Teslas, building them.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
I remember during COVID how he said, you know what? I'm going to keep building cars. And he even said what was it? This was in California.
To be fair,
they threatened
that was pre-sale.
They threatened to put him send the police there. And he said, if anyone's going to get arrested, let it be me.
Yeah.
Let it be me.
Wow.
If I'm gonna,
he knows it's ridiculous. He's like, if they're gonna arrest me for being productive in this economy, then so be it.
Yeah.
So what happened? Did they want him to make like N95 3 respirators.
No, he was trying to rebuild the cars again.
But this car, it has to drive itself.
Yeah, because he's like, I have all these orders. Everyone wants these cars, and we stop production.
Well, so what do you think he does when he walks on the factory floor? Does he say, "Come on, engineers, these cars aren't going to drive themselves"? Wait a second.
Oh yeah, they can drive themselves.
They can drive themselves.
They can drive themselves.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna disclaimer. You're not supposed to take your hands off the steering wheel, and you're not supposed to take your eyes off the road.
Also, regardless of whether it's a Tesla, you should probably follow that advice. I mean, I know we're in New Orleans. There's a lot of potholes. You gotta. I feel like
it gets quite bumpy out there.
You know, I learned early on, even when I was a kid. Sometimes you gotta drive on the left side of the road if you're avoiding a sinkhole or pothole.
That's what they were saying.
You gotta bend the rules a little bit.
It was a joke I heard. It was saying you can tell if someone's inebriated if they're just bouncing around, just going straight across, but they're not inebriated if they're like swerving back and forth because they're trying to avoid the potholes.
Somewhere. Yeah, they're trying to avoid the potholes.
And they're trying to avoid the potholes.
But you know what? You're right. If you're a police officer, who's more suspicious? The person going the speed limit on the right lane
and bouncing around,
or
like
the person
radically.
Swerving lanes and
swerving around. Oh, whoa!
On the I-10 or something. Yeah.
That guy is sober. That guy is definitely not sober.
Yeah, I mean, you'd expect the police officer to take a picture of the guy going 110 on I-10 and give him an award.
That's right.
Hey, we caught a camera that caught you going real fast. You're driving pretty well.
Well, let's see what the trial information, at least for the McCormick.
Do you think this will do anything to the spice company, McCormick's?
It might lower. Well, I don't know. Everyone likes.
They're only going to come out with medium and mild from now on. No one's going to.
So let's see here. And we're taking this from. This is a synopsis of the case. Sure. On July 13th, 2022, McCormick was assigned to adjudicate the merger disputes between Twitter Incorporated and Elon Musk, Twitter versus Musk.
Wow.
Over Musk's objection, McCormick granted Twitter motion for expenditure and treatment of the lawsuit and set a trial date. Okay, so this is more dealing with that portion of it. Uh-huh. But she was dealing with, on January 2024, in Toronto. Oh, this was the shareholder. There was a shareholder who was like saying, hey, I want some of that dividend money. He shouldn't take the money. So they. I mean,
to be fair, it's a growth stock that doesn't pay dividends. People should know that, no matter how many shares you.
Yeah, and I tell people, and this is not financial advice, but what I am saying is that if you see a PE ratio over 50, the odds of you getting your money back is it's not great. We'll just put.
What is PE for our investing listeners out there?
So PE is usually the indication for what. Meaning here in investing here. No, that's not physical education.
Well, it is when you're a kid going to school and you gotta. I think the Bill Clinton thing was
price to earning ratio,
7-minute mile.
So pricing to earning ratio, P-E ratio, a stock valuation. Yeah. So a stock valuation metric that compares a company's share price to its earnings per share.
EPS.
So what this means is that if theoretically you were buying a company, let's say you're buying a stock in GE, for example.
Yeah.
We're not saying you buy or we're not, but this is just an example. If it says $13 a share for GE, and now it's much higher because they've done reverse splits and all sorts of magic tricks over there to keep their prices up. But basically what it is that if you see a ratio of 50 and you're seeing the $13, what this tells you is that $13 is really expensive.
Sure.
And so basically you're not buying it on sale. You're buying it at a premium, a high premium.
The argument that I've heard made to owning Tesla stock isn't because you look at their earnings, especially when they were prototyping a few years ago.
Yep.
What it is a lot of their money is tied up in battery IPs. They could sell the IPs alone and make a lot of money. And so when you're sitting on a lot of intellectual property and you're going to be producing some affordable cars and you're in line with electric and, AI and new tech, it makes someone ask themselves, could this be an Amazon in 10 years?
Yeah.
Is this something where, wow, you didn't buy the stock for $300. You must have been crazy. It's $2,000 now,
I look at some of these...
Or maybe it fails like 95% of other companies.
Because here's the thing with the Tesla, and when I look at those kind of companies, I look at this as being a company...
Speculative, yeah.
Well, either that or it's just a really young company. I mean, you have to think, when we think of like automotive companies, I mean, GM has been around for almost 100
Ford.
years.
Get the Model
Ford is over 100 years.
It's 1800s, wasn't it?
Chevy, Dodge, they've been almost 100. You know, it's only a few other companies, but when we think of automotive companies, they've been around a really long time. Tesla has relatively been around. Let's just look at this.
I think Ford's at $13 a share, but they give dividends pretty regularly.
That's what I'm saying. I think in the future, Tesla might be giving dividends in the future.
If they announce it, imagine the wave of people going.
Oh my gosh! I mean, they would grow, but then the share price would come down, and they would have
even
to
if
go.
they weren't blue chip, even if they did it once a year, you know, people would. Anyway, but just again for this podcast, we're not financial experts. Don't take this as advice.
This is like entertainment
to either invest or don't invest. This is just purely a couple people looking at a stock and.
So originally, Tesla was incorporated in July 2003.
Yes. So
we're talking 21 years ago.
Wow.
And you have other companies that have been around over 100 years. So I say that we're not sitting.
Still hasn't made. Well, hey, now it's making in the hundreds of billions per quarter call. So
yeah, but also one of the things I would say, and this is just, I know we're kind of backing away from the trial, but we'll get back in there. One thing I honestly believe is Tesla, where they make their money, is actually selling carbon credits.
Really?
The reason why is that they push all these standards saying zero emissions.
Yes.
And this is one of the reasons why you're seeing all these car companies coming out with electric cars. It's not because they want to go green. It's because I think they're trying to avoid these carbon tax, carbon credits. And if you're a business that like Tesla, you have so many carbon credits, you're going to be selling them out like hot pockets, like hotcakes. You're just going to, it's going to be like a crawfish broil, and every auto manufacturer wants to be there because they don't want to build these electric cars.
It's good for the environment. You know, it's not good for, though, your eyes. I mean, when I look at that Cybertruck, I'm thinking this looks like the bad guy in every RoboCop movie that pulls up.
I don't know. Every time I look at it, it's like the truck version of a DeLorean. It's the truck version of
it.
DeLorean.
Looks like it was a rover that they made to go on Mars when they finally get there. But when they realized they weren't going to make it to Mars, they're like, let's just put these on the streets of LA.
I've seen one of them driving around New Orleans recently.
New Orleans, really?
We do have a Cybertruck out there driving around.
There we go.
They do say the windows are bulletproof, which I would not stand behind the glass.
So if you have a USB or a key, do you think you can hotwire that thing?
I don't think you can get in that thing, man.
Probably
that thing is, it's really
probably bulletproof.
Yes, and actually they had an interesting episode with Elon Musk and Joe Rogan.
Really?
Joe Rogan took a crossbow, or he took his bow and arrow, and he shot at it, and it did not penetrate.
Probably dented.
It put a little dent on it, though.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
So I would say on the coolness
if you
factor,
need Joe Rogan protection.
Yes. So if you need, if you're driving your Tesla through the Amazon and there's all these these native tribes throwing spears at you, I definitely would want to ride in the Cybertruck. The only downside is I just don't want to go my distance.
Or Joe Rogan fans.
Exactly. They might be really Joe Rogan.
They might have had their C4 early. They see a Cybertruck and they want
driving by. Oh man, it's like a bad guy in one of the video games.
Exactly. This is what I've been playing Time Crisis 2 for every day.
I do like the fact that this says no paint, no chips. So I guess there's so you're at the very least,
Well, I'll tell you what also, isn't great is the McCormick's.
Yeah,
ruling.
McCormick. Yeah, the McCormick ruling is not good.
I would say this makes Musk look sympathetic as a business owner.
Yes.
And I think what will happen is if people are annoyed with, let's say, California taxes increasing, they'll look at Delaware and they'll look and say, maybe all this regulation isn't great. And I think they'll be a little more sympathetic. I think Delaware, since Elon Musk earned almost a little less than 3.5 times what all the state of Delaware spends.
Yeah, for the fiscal year.
For their fiscal year.
Yeah.
I think that's what's going to make them, I think they got a little jealous. And they said, well, this is ridiculous for one person. And
But they don't realize when people think of people like Steve Jobs.
Sure.
You know, some people have said
He wore a
because
turtleneck.
he wore a turtleneck and those blue
And
jeans.
jeans,
I know, those
yeah.
blue jeans. He was a very...
He looked like my uncle who wouldn't stop talking about whatever his project was back in the 90s.
Oh, yeah. That's great. I love people who are dedicated to their craft. But here's the thing
I
that
invented rooftop solar.
But one of the things that Steve Jobs always did was he was always made sure he made the most impressive product. And here's the thing. When he produced the iPhone, and this is what I always tell
Back
everybody.
in 2008.
I know. It was crazy to think it was that not that long
This is
ago.
in San Francisco. He gave the presentation at Macworld.
Yeah.
2008. Beautiful presentation. If you're looking at public speaking and communication, I watch that regularly just to see how impressive it is. If you get goosebumps watching that.
Yeah, because
You've passed a set of...
here's the
nerd
crazy
culture.
part about that entire presentation, though. At the time when the iPhone was first being built, originally Intel was supposed to be the one designing the chips for the iPhone.
Oh.
But Intel said, you know what? We don't think there's a marketplace for the iPhone.
Really?
We just don't think
They're just
the
like-
iPhone is a big enough market
They're like-
for Intel.
You got your Palm Pilot. It's a communicator. He said there are three things, right? It's a phone.
Yep.
It's a
It's handheld computer.
handheld computer, and it has your music, your iPod.
Yep, and it's on an iPod.
And all three things in one. And you tell me Intel said, nope, there's not going to be a market for that. Who wants their music and mail?
Yeah, and all in one
And
small
phone,
package
all in
that
one
can fit
small
inside of your pocket. Here's the thing that drives me crazy about that particular
You
story.
can hold a charge for 4 hours.
They did say that the money that Steve Jobs was compensated for creating the iPhone, he was underpaid. And he got paid
bet he
billions of
was.
dollars.
Bet he was underpaid, yeah.
He was underpaid.
I think Wozniak was underpaid, too.
Yes.
The actual developer.
100%. But this tells us is that,
You know what? I think
We-
his divorce settlements were huge as well.
oh yeah, it's Steve Jobs,
I think so, yeah.
very tough man, very brutal. But he knew the design, he knew products that would sell, and he knew the customer probably
He's a good
maybe better than
marketer.
the customer themselves.
He's a good marketer, yeah.
Good marketer. One of the things I would say, and this goes back to the trial, is that like Steve Jobs, Elon Musk clearly knows what customers want. And
Yeah.
the reason we know we know that he's successful and he knows what his customers wants is he's making billions upon billions of dollars for his company.
Very good visionary communication skills.
Yep.
He paints a beautiful picture of what the future is going to be like.
He has
how
like
you interact with
he has
technology.
almost like a cult of personality kind of thing going on for him.
He's also very tall.
He's a very tall man.
I feel like if I were playing one-on-one basketball with him, I wouldn't do very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to kind of slowly wrapping up this episode. But like I said, the big takeaway is, should a judge be able to make a ruling that could basically make an entire state poorer? Or do you think this is a decision that should be put on the ballot?
I think this was, yeah. I'm gonna have to review more about the trial, but I really am gonna have to lean towards Unfathomable is not the best one-liner you want
No.
to get people on your side to be against the company.
It can't just be like, oh, you got paid a bunch of money. No, there has to be real structural reason why he shouldn't be paid.
And maybe as a judge, she's seen other cases and deals with kind of the everyday people in Delaware, and maybe she's just comparing this case to, what her view of normal is.
Yeah,
should,
yeah.
or should be.
This is not your case of some guy at an ice cream shop downtown overcharged one of his ice cream.
Yeah, and you're
whenever-
deciding how much to tax him because he's a little late on his taxes or something.
Exactly.
This
No,
isn't-
this is not that. This is like a internationally global recognized brand
Yes.
that is the richest man in the world, and you're deciding
richest.
if. Well, I think he was either second or first, or I'm not sure. It's fluctuating. I think it fluctuates because of the price of
I
the
feel
stock.
like whoever shops at that Dubai shopping mall with the huge Christmas tree that's like 100 stories, whoever shops there at the Louis Vuitton, I feel like those are the richest. Like that's the richest person. If you fly to that Dubai shopping mall,
Oh yeah,
that huge famous one, just take a picture of whoever's going in there. I feel like
you can
that's
afford
just
to go
all in
in
one
there.
building. Yeah, if you can afford to walk in the front entrance of that.
100%. But what I would say is, I really think, and this is going to be a question I'm going to pose to the audience, because we don't question our audience, but it's always fun to kind of throw an idea out there. Do you think a judge should make a ruling that could financially cripple a state? Or do you think this is something that when it gets so big, gets so large of a case, should this be something we put on a ballot?
Do we need to make the unfathomable a little more fathomable?
That's right. And maybe we'll have I would say, I'm not sure if we have a spicy take on this, but I kind of like it.
No package for you. No package for you.
No,
Unfathomable.
No spice. No spice.
No spice for you, Elon.
So I think
Too big.
Instead of having a hot review, we're going to have a mild review.
A mild review, yeah.
A
little less McCormick on the.
A little, we need less McCormick. We need less McCormick and more ballots.
Maybe some Zatarans. If you put Zatarans on as a judge, maybe some Tony Satchery, right, would make a great trial lawyer.
That's right.
He's got the name Tony Satchery.
So that makes our episode for the trial of Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
And Delaware's settlement case for his pay package of $55 billion.
What would you do with $55 billion?
Oh my gosh,
I got the answer. Move to Texas.
Move to Texas. You got it.
There you go.
Sold to Texas.
There you go. So now you know what you do if you win the lottery.
I'm going to Texas. Well, I don't know. Well, hopefully Louisiana will be very kind, but I'll probably have I'll have many residents. Many residents.
And remember that's Texas, not taxes.
Yep.
Taxes.
Everything is bigger in Texas.
There you go.
That's our episode. Hopefully you like and subscribe. This is your host, Mr. Toad.
And Dr. Frog.
We'll talk to you later.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.